Often people ask during these sessions, I'm talking of beach office camp, that we have some questions. So we don't have a question answer session for a very simple reason. Apart from these camps being like a series where things flow, but more importantly, when we have gone through the life divine, which probably chapter wise summary may take about 5 years, if we take 2 camps in February and August, and all questions will be answered, and even those questions which we never raised. That is the beauty of the life divine. Sri Aurobindo raises those questions which we dare not even to ask. For example, we accept that, well, man is suffering because of his sins in the past, and we accept it. We never question that why you made this law, why you made us ignorant creatures, and then after that you are condemning us that you sinned, you sinned. It's like somebody is made weak, and after he falls, he says, see, you fell. Neither we have the knowledge nor we have the will to start with, and then to punish. God is out there and He is punishing and rewarding. These questions we don't dare to ask because we feel no, it's not good to if God gets angry. I think the one thing which He cannot do is get angry. Or if I put it like that, what may seem like His anger also, or wrath, is also His grace and a blessing. So, but these are questions, and many valid questions. Why creation has come into existence at all? Partly is answering. So all the questions are discussed at great length, and right now each chapter is condensed form. As I said, he will expand, further expand. He is like an artist who will keep filling details. People often ask why the life divine had to be revised. So this is the reason, that from 14 to 19 many things were happening, but then he wanted to give as much as possible. So every little detail is filled up. The mechanism of rebirth, for example, one of the questions. Evil and pain, no one has taken this question at such length as Sri Aurobindo has taken and answered. So we should just wait and all the questions will be answered, or we can read through the life divine. So now we come to the next chapter, chapter 7, the ego and the dualities. So basically, what we have read so far is that this world is Sachidanand, manifested in outwardness. As Sri Aurobindo says, this world is God fulfilled in outwardness. And this, in material creation, it seems so. If you just take a look, even in animal creation, yes, God's play. Moment human beings come, something happens. Somehow it looks like what has gone wrong in the play. See, look at creation before the animal has come. Even the leaping of the tiger over the deer, devouring the deer. The next moment there is silence and there is the chirping of birds after a while, and then the deer is running again on the plain within few minutes. And then you see the tiger sitting over there. It all gives a very different feel, except when man comes. Because man wants to know the play and he starts his journey with a very small and narrow consciousness. That's when problem starts. And this is where we see this first, this slok from Shvetashvatar Upanishad is named after the Rishi Shvetashvatar. It's not Shvetashvatar, that is the white horse. It is the name of the Rishi is Shvetashvatar. The Upanishad is in his name. The soul seated on the same tree of nature is absorbed and deluded and has sorrow because it is not the Lord. See how we feel helpless. I wish I could do this. I wish this could happen. I wish that could happen. Why do we wish it? Because I wish it had happened like this. And if we look into that wish entirely, go deep behind, so we'll see that we dream of a perfect world. And we don't know how to make it. So when we look at the world, it looks as a contrast to what we deeply believe, want, hope, wish it to be. And that contrast is what creates tragedy. So there are two kinds of people who don't experience happiness. Those who are stone-like, They don't care that they are Rolling Stones, not the group, music group, but they are going around gathering moss, entering, life is like that. The other is the gods. They have the blueprint. This is happening, but doesn't matter, next life. But we don't know. We are in between the stone and the God. So therefore we are unhappy, and the measure of our tragedy is actually the measure of the ideal that we conceive and the physical reality as we experience it. If you ask anybody, do you want disease? He'll say no. Someone recently was writing to me that I think I don't deserve such a blow. I said, nobody deserves a blow. Ideally, if you ask, it should not be there. There is nothing like deserving a blow. Blow should not be there on anyone. So this is how, but yet they come. So ego means our self as we identify with a limited formation of nature. It looks at life very differently. Ego is like that person who has the whole mansion given to him, but he refuses to move out of a small little room, which he finds a table on the room dirty, and he keeps pointing, oh my God, this is a dirty room. Okay, start cleaning, at least start from there. And he forgets all the vastness that is behind and around and above him. This is what the ego does. It is a small little, like a pinpoint. Nature creates the sense of self. This is me. And then we strengthen that me through our identity cards. So that's how life becomes more and more imprisoned. So this is what he says, that the soul seated on the same tree of nature is absorbed and deluded and has sorrow because it is not the Lord. But when it sees and is in union with that other self and greatness of it, which is the Lord, then sorrow passes away from it. So what is that other self? Is the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, the Duasuparna, the two birds. So one is sitting and eating the fruit, and some it finds nice. It is very happy. Then another lychee, it opens, it is bitter. Who has given me this bitter? But then it hopes maybe the third lychee will be better. It is better. The fourth one is bitter. So it says, then it looks above and sees itself seated above, but it's simply enjoying, it's full of joy. And he says, what is she doing? And it's the same two poises. One is the soul in ignorance, and the other is soul awakening to the knowledge that all this is the divine. So this is how, of course, central being and psychic being, whichever way we want to put it. One is, it is not Lord, Anish. So when the soul is in a state of ignorance, Anish, it's not Lord. It's at the mercy of nature. Every thought, suggestion, feeling, it is driven by that. Then it is unhappy. It takes its share of happiness and its share of unhappiness. But when it becomes Ish, the Lord, that's why it is seated above the tree of nature, then it rejoices because it's the master of the play. It is the same difference between playing a game when you don't know it, you find yourself in the middle of a lot of people who make comments, that, oh, I wish Sachin had done this, oh, I wish he. Okay, supposing suddenly the cricket field came in front and Sachin says, Bhaiya, please bat in my position. No, I have actually experienced it while learning cricket. I thought, what is there? And I was learning it. First time when, district level team and first ball out, second ball out, third ball, I said, this is the crashing of my dream of cricket. It's not my school level cricket because then you realize, come to grip with those realities but when you are above, Sachin, he has mastered it. He would say, bache wala ball. So this is the difference between being a slave of nature and a master of nature. Dvasuparna. So Shiv Bindu says, if all is in truth Satchidanand, all is God, death, suffering, evil, limitation can only be the creations. And look how Shiv Bindu writes. This is so beautiful. Positive in practical effect, negative in a sense of a distorting consciousness which has fallen from the total and unifying knowledge of itself into some error of division and partial experience. Mark the words. What a perfection. He says, if Sachidanand is the reality, already he has built up that whole thing. Then in that case, evil and suffering can only be due to some distorting medium. And then he says something interesting. Distorting medium is negative in a sense. It's something negative which is distorting. But still, its effect is positive in effect. So when Milani Devi writes to Sri Aurobindo, or rather Sri Aurobindo writes to her about when a brother had passed away, he says, what can one say in times of grief like this? Only thing I can tell you is to have faith in God who brings good out of evil. So positive in effect, but negative in essence of that distorting medium. So in Sri Aurobindo's metaphysical thought, if we may say, this world is an illusion, but not in the sense of a non-existing reality, but that it distorts the reality. So this is a basic difference. And this is how the mother describes, very simple terms. So if it is a distortion, you can set it right. And if it is a non-existing something, then you have to step out of it. Or God knows who steps out, because you yourself are an illusion, as we said. So what is that distortion? It's like, this is a beautiful bookmark or a page, something is written on it, beautiful. Supposing you crumple it and you want to read it. Now all the letters have got jumbled. You can't make sense out of it. So the way is to straighten it. That's why in the Isha Upanishad, Agni is invoked. Agne Naya Supatharaye. And then he says, make the crooked straight. You say, no, we are not crooked. We are crooked. If we don't see Sachidanand, we are crooked. Something in us is distorted. It is not showing us things as we should see them. There are people who end up seeing hostile forces in the whole world. You have to tell, Bhaiya, we are here to see the divine in this whole creation. Even behind what is hostile. That's how that famous story of Chinmayi and Sri Aurobindo says, and the mother says after that story that basically Sri Aurobindo always believed in oneness and wanted us to base on that one vision. But if we cannot see it, it is because something distorts the reality. So basically we are suffering from cataract from birth. And this cataract needs to be operated. So this is what he is revealing to us, that when we look at the world from a divided, from me perspective, is it good for me or not? But when we look at it from the larger perspective, is it good for the person or not? Is it good for the world or not? Then the whole thing begins to change. One example is a soldier who dies on the battlefield. Or let's say, okay, we can take this example. His wife, his family may say that, look here, God, what has he done with me? But when you look at the larger perspective, look at his soul. It chose to go through the portals of Veer Gati. Can there be anything greater for a person struggling as a soldier? This is a great consummation. Look at from the larger perspective of the nation. When a man falls to the last bullet and safeguards the past, like Baji Prabhu. When we read Baji Prabhu's story, imagine what his wife would have felt. Ego's distorting medium. Oh. And look what his wife would feel when she would read something like Sri Aurobindo's poem. This is the basic difference. And another place where it comes very beautifully, where Sri Aurobindo in Ulupi, his poem, contrasts these two. Ulupi, Arjun goes, stays for 1 year with her. And he has a child through Ulupi. But then Arjun is a hero. He can't stay. He is born for great deeds. So Sri Aurobindo describes that night. The next day, Arjun has to go. And Ulupi tells him, I know, I am very happy with you, but I know that you must go. You are not born to remain tied to me and, have a child and raise a family. I know you are not meant for this. And then Arjun tries to tell her, no, live in the moment, it's okay. Let's enjoy this moment. She says, okay. I know this moment, but I know that your journey lies elsewhere. So he contrasts the vision of the ego where the wife is feeling so unhappy because imagine marrying Arjun and she has to let him go. And with her soul understanding, where she says, yes, you must go and fulfill your destiny. So this is where we have the ego vision, which is regarded as this is the fall of man, typified in the poetic parable of the Hebrew Genesis. So what is that Genesis story? We all know Adam and Eve met together. They were living in innocent holiness. They didn't know sin. So they went by the prerna. When they got the prerna, they were together. They didn't question the prerna. And then one day, this game cannot go on like this. So it seems, as the story goes, the devil tempted. And she gave him an apple to eat. And he ate the apple. And it was forbidden. Don't eat anything. Enjoy everything. Don't eat it. And he ate the apple. And they fell. They were driven out. This is the story. But the story is very interesting. Sri Aurobindo says that God drives us out of every Eden so that crossing a desert of morass, we may find a greater paradise. So they are driven, Adam and Eve. And they ended up making Apple computers because that memory of Apple is still. How much the world gained because they were driven. So the world benefited because Adam and Eve. And they started idolizing what could be an ideal relation. Now they have to build everything consciously. Innocent holiness, unconscious goodness must evolve into conscious goodness born out of the divine impulsion. So this is the story of the fall. And the fall is basically the divided and dividing ego consciousness. That fall is the deviation from the full and pure acceptance of God and himself, or rather of God in himself. It is very difficult to understand the life of the rishis except through this small little parable. They accepted the impulsion of God in themselves. They acted. You see, when the river rises in its greatness and floods and drowns the plain, it doesn't say, oh my God, should I do this, should I not do this? Mandakini becomes Prachanda Devi. That's how, see, that fullness is there. When we read Vyasa's Mahabharata, we see many of these characters living with the fullness of a god. So Bhim, when he kills 100 children of Dhritarashtra, Gandhari tells him, Ek ko to chhod dena tha. What a cruel person you are. You should have at least left one for my old age. And you know Bhim's reply. Bhim lives by the impulsion of the divine within him. He says, if you had Mate, I respect you. But if you had 200 sons, I would have killed all of them. Because they were standing with the dharma. Now when you read this, all the apologetics about goodness and violence, non-violence, it goes for a 6. Because Bhim is following his nature. It never occurs that Bhim is doing something wrong. Because Bhim is following the natural impulsion, like prerna of the God rising within him to conquer and finish whatever is a dharma. Bhim knows no other rule. That's why when Narayanastra is shot by Ashwatthama, Sri Krishna says, bow down, you can't confront. Bhim, true to his own law, he says, how can it be? Bhim never bows before anyone. He wants to fight. And the Narayanastra becomes more and more intense. Why? Because the only way to fight Narayanastra is bow down. That means the ego must surrender in humility. So Sri Krishna jumps to his chariot, catches his neck and tells him, bow down, and makes him bow down, and then the fury stops. So he is moved by the divine impulsion, Baji Prabhu, Abhimanyu, when we read these stories and many of these rishis. But now this is the state of pristine purity of early humanity. But slowly, as the mental being develops and reason develops, good and bad come into the play. Should I or should I not? So then there is the fall. But this is important because then we have to arrive at a conscious becoming. Into a dividing consciousness which brings with it all the train of the dualities. Life and death, good and evil, joy and pain, completeness and want, the fruit of a divided being. The strange part is, very often, what we feel sorrow about, another person feels happy about, the same event. So this I realized when in competition, FMCI got through, and everybody was very happy. For a moment, I felt so many moms, and they would be feeling sad because their children did not pass. See, my joy is somebody's sorrow. Strange. This is how, when we look at life in vastness, then all our scales fall off. When we identify it with the cosmic consciousness, then all this becomes insignificant. Somebody dies, but that person is preparing to be born in somebody else's house. So all this is but we have lost that. So therefore, the double fruit, this is the fruit which Adam and Eve, who are Adam and Eve in Indian story? Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti tempts. Purusha is sitting like this, witness, I am meditating. Prakriti makes a very nice dish, food, brings to Purusha. So Purusha is still meditating. Then she says, it's your favorite food, just try it once, see what it will do. So Purusha comes and takes a bite. And then he says, when are you going to next make this dish? So this is how Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti draws the Purusha out of its state of witness. But when Purusha flows into Prakriti, then Prakriti also starts getting redeemed. So this is the whole story of Purusha and Prakriti. This half the story, I have held back the full story. The soul, tempted by nature, have eaten. Purusha is eaten now. After eating, like Narad Muni, he went to fetch water for Krishna. He meets a girl who says, Muni, thoda pani pee lo, have little water. Okay, fine. He forgot he was supposed to fetch water for Krishna. So he drinks the water and he says, nearby is my kutia. Why don't you come? Have some food. After some time, Narad Muni marries, has children. One day, there is a great tragedy. And children die. There is a fire and everything is gutted down. And Narad says, what a cruel God you are, if at all you are there. What have you done to me? And he hears Krishna saying, I'll answer that question, Narad, but right now I am thirsty. For 12 years I am waiting for that water which you went to bring for me. You give me the water, I'll explain to you everything. I know I owe an explanation to you. So Narad gave the water. The story ends there. But Krishna keeps his promise. So the life divine is the explanation of Krishna to all the Naradas in modern world, asking questions to the Lord. So, the redemption. So how can it be redeemed? Not by simply escaping. The redemption comes by the recovery of the universal in the individual. How beautiful. If we want to escape this law of suffering and pain, we must first make our consciousness vast. And it is so beautiful, even at a very human level. You know, when now it's so nice, I think people have changed, transformed. So chappals don't disappear. But there was a time when they used to disappear. I don't know, willingly or unwillingly. No, everybody has experienced dining room. So now things are organized also. So when they disappear, you have two attitudes to take. One is the egoistic attitude. See this place, God's place. You had just got the new chappal and it disappeared. Other is vaster attitude. This is a place of yoga. Learn the lesson. You lost your chappal, somebody has gained it. Who needed it more? Simple. Period. Okay. This is how you teach yoga? Yes, through practice. So next time when people say, what is the practice of yoga? This is the practice of yoga in real life. Isn't it? When we become vast, when we identify this person who has taken is also like my brethren. So what is there? It's okay. Not that you should allow yourself to be cheated, but at the same time, a vaster consciousness looks at things very differently. So this is why he says how it can be redeemed by recovery of the universal in the individual, not by abandoning, by recovering that vastness in the individual. And of the spiritual term in the physical consciousness. When we begin to see in everything the will of God operating in so many things, so then it becomes easy. That is the redemption. then alone the soul in nature can be allowed to partake of the fruit of the tree of life and be as the divine and live forever. So that after a bite, as I told that story of Steve Jobs, searching for that bite, stay hungry, stay foolish. But once we universalize the consciousness, then the divine says, now you can have the full fruit. Because everybody's joy becomes your joy. That's how Swami Vivekananda explained universal consciousness. You're not unhappy because somebody is happy at your cost, because you know that that is also another Narayana in another body. So when we begin to live like that, then life becomes beautiful. That story of the monk in whose home a thief came and he won't find anything. And then suddenly he is going, cursing the monk, and monk says, hold on. What? And there is a gold bowl there which somebody had given me. You have not looked there. Oh! He picks up the bowl and rushes. Next day he comes with the bowl. Says, keep this bowl. You must be having some treasure, much more costly that you could give away a bowl so freely. I want that treasure. He says, how could you just give it away? He says, for that treasure, you have to not only leave the bowl, but you have to leave this, your own, all the time preoccupied with me and mine. Then you will get that treasure. So this is the same thing. It's a outlook which changes. Of course, the will of the transcendent, all that will come to later. But first training is to universalize. And then, beautiful, 57, page 57. So, we see in life discord. People are fighting, quarreling. So, many people give up. What is this life? Either they will take vairagya or they will go somewhere else. Again fight, quarrel, and again somewhere else, again fight and quarrel. But if you stay on to understand what is this discord due to, and change yourself, not the other person, slowly you will discover a deeper source of understanding. That's why the discord is like the musician in the beginning, he does tuck with the tabla. And if you don't have patience, you say, what is this? Classical? This is classical music. You say, wait man, wait. Be patient. Or he'll do that toom. And you say, what is this toom? Wait man, wait. Sir, how long? As long as you can wait with patience. And then slowly, rang chadta hai, nasha hota hai. And the sitar and the tabla and the jugalbandi transport you to another world. So that is what he describes to Satchidanand, extended in all things in widest commonality and impartial universality. Death, suffering, evil and limitation can only be at the most reversed terms shadow forms of their luminous opposites. It's not that Satchidanand says this doesn't exist. He says, oh, this is a distortion of what I have willed. This is a shadow. This must be changed. He doesn't condemn or discard it. That's why God becomes Ram and takes the challenge of Ravan. If he has to kill Ravan, it is very easy. He will say abracadabra and probably some lightning will fall and Ravan will die. But Ravan is originally a bhakta of the Lord. So he comes, takes all the pains. Even Mata Sita goes with him. Why? Because they want to transmute Ravan back into what he originally is. This is the redemption story. Killing Ravan is the easiest thing. He doesn't have to take birth. He could have just, Hanuman inspired by, would have given him one mustika and he would have died. No. He tries to change because this is the redemption of things from, they have fallen. Ravan is fallen from Jai Vijay. And then he must go back to that state. He doesn't want to destroy Ravan. Or rather, when Ravan is killed, he changes into the bhakta of the Lord. This is the story of redemption. So Satchidanand sees, mere hi banda hai, kya kar raha hai? Vishnu sees. He doesn't see, oh Ravan, the bad guy. He says, poor fellow, he did one mistake. He's cursed, fallen, with karuna in his heart. He goes all the way through Dandakaranya. Look at the compassion in Lord Rama's heart. Situations are created. He abandons the kingdom. With Mata Sita goes, he says, yes, I know, if you come along, maybe your love will change him. And Ravan is attracted by her. And she goes with him. Let's see, maybe you will change because of love that you have for me in your heart. But his love is an asuric love. It wants for his own sake. Then finally Ram has to come and then he is changed. So this is the how Sachidananda sees. Rama, as Sachidananda, doesn't say Sachidanand Brahm, this is meaningless, this is utterly play, I don't care. He sees the distortion, wants to change it. As these things are felt by us, they are nodes of a discord. Those who don't know the full story will say, what kind of creature has been created? That's why Ramayana begins with the fall from Jai Vijay. And every story has a still further story. So this is how one has to look at life, the way God looks at life. He does not say this is okay, this is good, everything is fine. He says there is discord and he wants to tune it. Mother says whatever is or creates harmony is dear to me. She says that. It's not, and this one place he says truth is supreme harmony and delight. It brings harmony, that is its nature, and he keeps striving for harmony. So this is initial discord. And then page 57, next para. At first, however, we must strive to relate the individual again to the harmony of the totality. First thing, we must reclaim, always keep the vaster, larger picture in to the totality. That brings such an humbling effect, just to think that it's not only for you. Your life is not meant only for you. There is a larger purpose, there is a greater cause, there are people around. How can you just think only about yourself selfishly? Life teaches us that. And that is the first thing, totality. There it is necessary for us. Otherwise there is no issue from the problem. To realize that the terms in which our present consciousness renders the values of the universe, though practically justified for the purposes of human experience and progress, are not the sole terms in which it is possible to render them, and may not be the complete, the right, the ultimate formula. This, Shobinda says, may not be because he is proceeding logically. That you think you are right, and he thinks he is right, she thinks he is right. But what does the Lord think? That is important. And we don't know what the Lord thinks. So we must try to touch that consciousness, see things in that vision, then life changes. And then he gives a very beautiful example. This has its value for the moment, but it is not the ultimate value. And he gives a beautiful example that look at these sense organs. According to the sense organs, sun rises from the east and sets in the west. And the earth is flat. And it is stable, static. Try to tell a person, earth is moving. Why? Because I have read in physics, astrophysicists tell us, don't be crazy. And then if you say it is moving at such a speed, I've forgotten the speed, my God, so many 1,000 miles per minute is mind-boggling. You'll say, look here, don't become illogical. If it is moving, what should happen to me? I should be dizzy, I should be moving, but I see I am standing still. That is the story of the Buddha, becoming still as well as moving. So you can't convince logically. So sense organs, knowledge has its own place. You can't walk thinking earth is moving. Because then you will say, okay, then why should I go? I will wait, America will come after a rotation. We will, obviously, na, बोलते ट्रेन छूट गई ट्रेन छूटी नहीं आप छूट गए ट्रेन has left you are left behind, train has gone its way. So it's a way we look at life. And so he says on the next page, page 58, Certainly, the practical values given us by our senses and by the dualistic sense mind must hold good in their field and be accepted as the standard for ordinary life experience until a larger harmony is ready. So, as I said, don't touch snake saying Shiv ji ka hai unless you are Shiva. Then you can take it and put it around. Don't try prematurely. This is for only every image of Shiva, they must write that. Only performed by experts. Snake is there. Don't try that. So there is, but what does Shiva indicate? We can rise to that level of consciousness. Right now I am not. So my practical values of good and bad hold. But at present, if I stay here forever, then my evolution stops. And all creation comes to help me move towards that. So here he says something very interesting. To enlarge the sense faculties without the knowledge that would give the old sense values their right interpretation from the new standpoint might lead to serious disorders and incapacities, might unfit for practical life and for the orderly and disciplined use of reason. So that's why abnormally when people suddenly have these visions and this thing, they don't understand the totality. It can create another kind of disorder. Like that person who heard that all is God and went out, and when elephant is coming, he says that, well, I have learnt a lesson, I must try it. I am Brahman, elephant is Brahman. What can Brahman do to Brahman? And then the Mahabhat says, get from the way, you fool. You are a fool. I wish you could go to my Guruji and learn that Soham asmi tattvamasi, I am God, I am Brahman, and this too is Brahman. What can Brahman do? He says one last time, I don't know all this, but before this man is stubborn and he is thrown away. And he goes crying to his Guru. He says, why did you do this to me? You taught me a wrong lesson. He said, no, I taught you correctly. You misapplied it. See, world suffers a lot due to misapplication of truth. That's why knowledge which is only by reading some book, it's not true knowledge. It cannot be misapplied it. Like we quote the mother. Mother says, and on top of it, they will say, mother says so, mother says so. Mother has herself said. Right understanding, how it develops. So, that's where the master says, fool, yes, I told you all is Brahman. So why don't you listen to the Mahabhat Brahman? So there is a totality through which we have to experience life. We have to grow in that consciousness. If we don't grow and start applying it, we will misapply it. It will create confusion. That's why this knowledge is not given easily. It was given after a lot of readiness and preparedness. And the mother says that now it is all available. So you people think you have read, therefore you know? No. It has to be applied in life, practiced. This, no doubt, few lines below, this, no doubt, is the root of the injunction imposed in the Gita on the man who has the knowledge not to disturb the life basis and thought basis of the ignorant. For, impelled by his example, but unable to comprehend the principle of his action, they would lose their own system of values without arriving at a higher foundation. This, incidentally, is one of the problems of the transformation. Mother says at one place, she writes in one of her notes, that she is pondering what kind of disorder will come when Superman will come. Man has disturbed the order of the animal kingdom. And she says, Superman, when he comes, he is going to disturb the order of the mental world. Initially, this is what will happen. It will create a kind of initial confusion because all the old values will go, but the new is yet to emerge fully. So there will be a period of transition when all of us will be beings of transition, neither here nor there, and yet nowhere and everywhere. So we'll stop with this and continue tomorrow. So for 23rd, if somebody wants to go to Savitri Bhavan in the vehicle and has not yet given the name, please give the name. for the vehicle, and even if you are going on your own vehicle, still give the name because for the snacks there. Of course, we'll all share because we'll practice totality. Thank you.